And Mario Strike...
Yo! Look at that pose! Just like with the Wario video that we did, I don't know anything about Waluigi, which is why in the comments of that video, you guys pointed me to this particular video from our friends over at the Designing For channel, who you should definitely go and support. Link to that is at the very top of the description, as always. But essentially, before I had watched the Wario video, my understanding of both of those characters were they were just the evil counterparts to Mario and Luigi. But based off some of the comments that I saw, apparently Waluigi is not even Wario's brother. He's just some guy who was there and showed up perfectly, who just so happened to almost be the exact counterpart to Luigi. I wonder if this is yet again going to be a character that was made to fill a role and then later on repurposed a bit and fleshed out in order to make it their own character. Or if poor Waluigi here has just been forgotten. But with how popular this character is, I don't think that would be the case. We'll see.
Waluigi, yeah!
Actually, I think I recall you guys saying that his first appearance was in a tennis game, just to be a pairing with Wario.
Me, Waluigi!
Now, odds are that you either really enjoyed that combination of weird banjo music and goofy cartoon caricatures, or you've already clicked off the video.
You're lousy!
To say that Waluigi has had a tumultuous history as a character would be accurate, with no hyperbole needed, actually.
Oof.
The slender Wario brother...
Are we brothers? We never talk about it. Doesn't matter.
...has spent all of the 20-some years of his existence showing up in every single tennis match, golf tournament, kart race, Olympic game, death party, and whatever other odd event Mario hosts that his weird little genie shoes can carry him to. But always just as an option. One small part of a much larger cast.
Because he doesn't have his own games, right? I mean, even Luigi has his own games, but I don't think I've ever seen anything related to Waluigi. But I could just be ignorant. I didn't even know about the Wario games until we watched that video.
And yet, these days you'd be hard-pressed to not see him as one of Mario's most major players, in spite of his role not changing at all. Waluigi has one of the most passionate and vocal fan bases of any character in the entire Mario franchise. And while many would attribute that to being a funny meme character, or that it's ironic enjoyment, I don't find that the case. Waluigi has grown from a character who no one who made up the gaming zeitgeist at the time of his debut cared for, into a personality that people genuinely enjoy. And I think the story behind that, as we move further and further away from the time opinion on the Purple Plumber began to shift, to be important to tell.
This almost makes me think it's more on the community as a whole, as opposed to the developers creating a game that fleshes out his character. But I guess realistically, the answer to that is going to be a bit of both, because even if he appears as an option in a video game, if they make him appealing in some way, then obviously people are going to start gravitating towards that character. Now, because I don't know Waluigi like that, I don't even know where to start when it comes to his personality. But I can assume that it's not like Wario, or else that would just be like taller, lankier Wario. And I don't think the character would be as interesting. He's definitely got to have some villainous qualities for sure, but maybe more show-offy? I don't even know if that's the right word to describe it. But the whole rose in the mouth thing kind of gives off vibes of being extremely confident to the point of arrogance.
Luigi may be a pathetic sap of a character, but he's our pathetic sap of a character. And we'll appreciate him no matter how much of a failure he is.
Oh god, this is literal PTSD. For those of you who don't know, before I became an anime boy on the internet, I used to play golf professionally. And I can say, without a doubt, I've been there before. Sometimes the ball just won't go in the hole.
Look, I'm a dance, I'm a sing, I'm so happy.
I don't think I've ever included this intro in any of the other videos, but this intro is really cute. It's not overly designed to the point where it gives you a headache, but it also just has that nostalgic feel to it, with the added feel-goods vibes that designing for his videos usually have.
Waluigi's origins are as humble as they are pitifully convenient. When making Mario Tennis for the Nintendo 64, developers Camelot were having a lot of fun with the roster.
And oh wait, did we have a bunch of unique characters show up here? Or was it literally just Waluigi that got added? Because, yeah, with a tennis game, and I'm assuming they're playing in pairs, who's going to pair with Wario if we don't have anybody that is his counterpart? It's a pretty easy idea to just say, hey, look at Luigi. And what if we just made the Wario version of Luigi?
In order to create doubles partners that fit the personalities of major Mario characters, and pulling characters with relatively human body types that could be animated for tennis, they began digging back deep through Mario's history, reviving Daisy from Super Mario Land to partner up with Princess Peach, Birdo from Super Mario USA to give Yoshi a fellow dinosaur-like creature to play with, Paratroopa, because they had that tilty Bowser stage and wanted someone who could float like Boo and ignore the gimmicks, so... Paratroopa!
Gotcha.
But when thinking of a doubles partner for spin-off mainstay Wario, Camelot was a bit stumped. While they had created some oddball pairings out of necessity, like Donkey Kong's partner being Toad, no one really fit well as a complement to Wario's stout power in gameplay, character design, and
I believe you. This is honestly peak male performance right here.
characterization. However, Camelot were no stranger to creating new characters for the Mario series, having made such luminaries as Plum, Sunny, and Elf. So they pitched an idea to Nintendo. Take the Japanese word for bad or inferior, Warui, and combine it with Luigi. A Waluigi. Yes, his name is a pun. He was literally a joke on conception. Nintendo responded, sure, but we don't want to do it. You go ahead. So, Camelot graphic designer Fumihide Aoki quickly created a character who would properly complement Wario. Taking cues from Yatterman's Doranbo gang, if Wario was the bulky strong man, Tonzura, his partner would have to be the limber and crafty Boyaki to match. A sinister, lanky fellow.
Wow, I mean, it's pretty immediate. Like, that is the exact inspiration, yes. But I mean, if it works, don't fix it. This is a character pairing that has worked for a very long time, so if you need a job done right now and you don't really have a lot of time to rethink the whole wheel, then I think Waluigi's design came out perfectly. Because while it is borrowing from this, it is distinctly unique in and of itself and also makes a whole lot of sense to be paired with Wario.
Who'd be able to reach for balls that Wario couldn't, setting up the greedy treasure hunter to use his raw power to its fullest potential. And in the year 2000, the world at large was introduced to Waluigi.
Just some dude I found out front who was right for the job. Wario's luck is insane.
And everyone hated him.
Damn.
Okay, everyone is a bit of a stretch, but you wouldn't figure that much looking at his reception.
Let's see the public reception.
If you weren't a Waluigi hater insecurely declaring him as Nintendo's second biggest mistake behind Tingle, you were...
Oh, man. Tingle is certainly a character. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't know if I hate Tingle. I don't like him, but he exists and he serves a purpose. A purpose that I can appreciate. That doesn't necessarily mean I have to like the character. Now, mind you, my impression of Tingle is based off of like a Let's Play that I watched. What game was he in? Ocarina of Time? The only Zelda game I ever played was Twilight Princess, And honestly, that was peak fiction. But I do plan to dive into the Zelda series at some point in time. Honestly, I might do that with Silver, considering he's a really huge Zelda fan too.
Generally indifferent to the guy's existence. And honestly, his initial portrayal has a lot to do with it. Nintendo Power decided to introduce the mean cheating machine to gamers by claiming that you could go to Waluigi.com to play his hit game, Waluigi's Toenail Clipping Party.
The frick?
Or that he's so bad, he steals Luigi's underwear and sells them on eBay.
What the frick? So you're telling me that the original Gamer Girl bathwater was Luigi's underwear? Waluigi was way ahead of his time. Way before Belle Delphine even got the idea.
In a culture of video games trying to take themselves seriously, that kinda gross out weirdness wasn't endearing him to many. But more pointedly, Waluigi was criticized as a waste of space. A useless and lazy character who didn't need to exist. An annoying freak with a scratchy voice.
Waluigi!
They had a point. A tenuous and insecure point, since Waluigi is holding up, Mouser from appearing in spin-offs? But insofar as Waluigi being a character without substance, a small point nonetheless. Waluigi was made to be an exaggeration of and rival to Luigi.
Yeah.
But at the time of Mario Tennis's release, Luigi wasn't really much of a character himself.
Oh, I see. I suppose Luigi is also one of those characters whose appreciation has grown over time. And, well, I don't know when the Luigi's Haunted Mansion games started coming out. I think it was definitely around that time where Luigi's character started getting a lot more popularity, as opposed to just being Mario's brother. But of course, I don't know the exact history here, that's just what I'm assuming.
There were some small differences in gameplay, like his floatier jump and his reduced traction in Lost levels, or his dash attack in Super Smash Bros., making him seem inherently more clumsy than his brother. But in a pre-Luigi's Mansion world, actual bits of characterization for Luigi were left to anime, TV shows, and comics.
Well, there you go. Yeah, it was Luigi's Mansion then.
And hardly consistent between them. The cowardly, quiet, but ultimately brave little guy we've all come to know and love was relegated to appearances where he leads a parade? Likes machines, I guess?
Hot damn!
Oh my! You know what? If Luigi appreciates Igus, then I think I can relate to the guy. Granted, I still have yet to play Persona 3, but I know the character.
Damn, as they say.
Isn't even in the game? Paper Mario would throw him a bone with some quiet envy of his brother, but Mario Tennis would come out before Paper Mario in every region. Luigi wasn't a sidekick to Mario growing from his hero's example, or a contrast to his brother's traits to highlight both of their strengths. Not yet, at least.
Still gotta check out Crash Bandicoot at some point.
Right now, he was just Mario's brother. He's just Luigi.
I lost.
Waluigi had to be the bad, evil form of nothing.
Okay, now it makes a whole lot more sense why the character was not loved upon release, because yeah, there was a house built with no foundation. We slowly patched things up as time went on, but understandable.
So, there was Waluigi, with all the character traits of weird death glare when he gets a point in tennis, doesn't
Whoa.
intimidate Luigi,
Luigi not afraid.
What? So, Luigi, the guy that gets scared at everything, is not afraid of Waluigi? Damn, Waluigi. I don't know, man. I think you gotta spice up your look a little bit here. Maybe be a bit more menacing, but perhaps that's not in your character.
and plays tennis in a tennis game. Functional, but not well received by the gaming press, and not even made by Nintendo themselves. He could have been forgotten about as a weird novelty and put on the shelf with the Broodals, Koopa Kids, and Carltons of the world. But whether it be through pure luck or sheer stubbornness, Waluigi found himself in the perfect opportunity to stick around. Mario Party 3, released just a few months after Mario Tennis and developed from start to finish in less than a year, looked to add more playable characters to MP2's roster of 6.
Yeah, throw Waluigi in there.
Who's humanoid enough to work in every minigame without issue?
Me.
Not only that, but Mario Party 3 introduced a single-player story mode, where one character would have to prove themselves to the Millennium Star by defeating other characters who embodied traits like kindness, courage, and strength.
I'm gonna assume it's not much of a story mode, but the fact that there is somewhat of a story mode in a Mario Party game is not what I imagined Mario Party to be at all. Do any of the newer ones have one? I thought it was just a party game.
However, Luigi was left without a trait to embody, simply taking the place of whoever the player chose as a filler challenger, so that Wario wouldn't have to fight Wario on who was wittier or whatever. And kind of inadvertently addressing Luigi's characterization woes. He wasn't strong enough as a character at this point to define any sort of positive aspect, but he could try for all of them and prove himself a real hero.
I'm a got it.
And in the face of Luigi being the main protagonist, who
should be his main antagonist? Wow. A character that everybody hated but perfectly fills that position. Wouldn't you know? Okay, I'm sorry to see it. I understand now why he survived. Because there is a demand for this character. He was just ahead of his time.
should be the final major roadblock, but Waluigi, crashing the party to steal the Mischief Star stamp and challenging the player to beat him on his own Death Trap Island. And the best part is, this place used to be Luigi's home, but Waluigi was petty enough to hire Piranha Plant construction workers to blow up Luigi's house and steal his land.
You're evicted!
This did leagues in setting up Waluigi's character, and almost incidentally made him a mainstay of the Mario Party series. He worked really well in this game, why take him out? And since Waluigi did such a good job rivaling Luigi in one game, might as well toss him another. Luigi serves as the playable character in Game & Watch Gallery 4's boxing revamp. So of course, Waluigi just makes sense to slot in as Luigi's final and ultimate rival there. But those are small potatoes. A late N64 party game and some Game & Watch remakes. It's not like he's gonna jump the line and get into Mario Kart before Magic.
Well, about that. I do know for a fact he's in Mario Kart. And honestly, I guess I should have seen the appreciation growth for this character go on the path that it has because of his inherent link with Luigi as a character. The more Luigi gets featured, the more Waluigi gets featured. It's the same relationship that Mario and Wario have with each other. However, I feel like Wario has been able to get his own game, whereas Waluigi hasn't, which is why he hasn't really reached that status yet. But perhaps it's more of in the minds of the community he has in many people's hearts.
Koopa again.
There he is.
Oh, damn.
The next Mario Kart game was focused on themed pairs of racers.
Oh, there you
Wario
go.
just so happened to need a doubles partner for it. Again! By this point, it was plain convenient to toss Waluigi into various Mario spin-offs. He was human-shaped. They made his GameCube model early for Mario Party 4, so little work had to be done putting him in new games. And there is no third thing to end this sentence. Waluigi is just easy to put in. And as Waluigi appeared more and more, everyone who found him a waste of space hated him more and more. They were gonna play through a boring single-player mode of Mario Party to get Waluigi character development? All that was
Probably
seen
not,
here
yeah.
was an annoying character latching onto the Mario series like a parasite.
Dude, eventually they're gonna have to see it. When they needed him, he was there. And he was the only one who could fill that role. So yeah, no matter how much the haters are gonna hate, he has to be here.
Refusing to die and whining his way into title
What?
after title. Waluigi cemented himself as a Mario regular, but as far as journalists and bitter fans on the internet were concerned, he was a stain on the series that they just couldn't scrub out. But one place that Waluigi was never doubted was in the hands of Camelot. They loved their baby boy and wanted to flesh out his character more and more as games progressed.
Hell yeah.
GameCube titles like Mario Golf Toadstool Tour and Mario Power Tennis would feature incredibly lengthy intro cinematics, showing Wario and Waluigi trying to bully and cheat their way into whatever sport they were tackling to absolutely pathetic results. The two tapped into their comedy duo origins,
Two tapped? I see you. I don't know if that was intentional, but I appreciate it.
always encouraging and egging each other on in their stupid exploits, before failing at pretty much everything they put their minds to. Charles Martinet, voice actor at the time for all 4 major plumbers in the Mario series, would begin fleshing out his vocal interpretation of Waluigi.
What? This is an actual picture of him? That's awesome.
In these games, viewing the character through a lens of incredible self-pity, seeing himself as the one failure in a world where everything goes right for everyone else.
Ah, everybody cheating.
All of Waluigi's super moves involve him twisting his body into various shapes or swimming through the air, breaking physics to accentuate his lanky form. Everything that was thrown at Waluigi made him into more and more of a comedy character.
These are his defining characteristics, so it's a really smart idea to play into all of them. Plus the whole self-pity aspect makes it a lot more different from Mario, but also makes sense because, yeah, they're not really meant to succeed. And with that many failures, it's obvious that he would probably develop some sort of complex about it. And unfortunately, a lot of people do, which makes it an aspect that people can certainly find relatable.
And it helped him complete what he'd been missing since the beginning, his contrast to Luigi. The man in green had embraced his Luigi's Mansion personality by this point, feeling a bit out of his league at times, but carrying a quiet confidence that, when push came to shove, let him achieve great things that he didn't find himself capable of.
Good job, Luigi.
While Luigi then
And I find that way more compelling than somebody who is already confident and is just built different and doesn't buckle under any sort of pressure. The guy who does it regardless of his own fears and anxieties is the one that I relate to more.
was the opposite. A Luigi who boasted his false confidence to anyone who would listen, who would gladly cheat to win against superior competition, and whenever the pressure was on, would always crumble. Waluigi is what Luigi fears that he could look like. And he's actually pretty great at being that kind of loser.
Hell yeah.
Might be getting better, but nobody cheats better than Waluigi.
Yeah!
You got that?
Yeah, now it's no wonder why people like him. This is great. It's a fun kind of villainy that's relatable and fits into the series perfectly. Even if there are maybe still people out there who don't like his character, I think just having him exist in that spot is beneficial for the series as a whole. He doesn't necessarily have to be likable, but he can be used as a tool to make other characters more likable, or emphasize certain characteristics of other characters, because he's there to serve as that juxtaposition.
Different developers would continue to contribute to Waluigi's weird combined identity. Mario Superstar Baseball shows Waluigi's failures through gameplay. the lanky loser possessing the incredibly coveted laser beam ability that lets him launch the ball to home plate to prevent runners from scoring points. However, his throwing arm is naturally so weak that his laser is slower than several characters' regular throws, making the feeling of choking under pressure a part of his regular gameplay. On top of that, Waluigi is the only character in Superstar Baseball whose charge swing causes him to lose power. Something that even the instruction manual points out, making him the absolute worst character in the game at feeling the glory of a home run.
Are you kidding me? Waluigi, no! Man, why is this so real though? It's like those moments where you like try to lock in, you're super focused, but you end up tensing way too much and then you end up completely fluffing the play. Been there before. As I said earlier in the video, been there before.
The harder he tries, the less likely Waluigi is to succeed.
No.
Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix features Waluigi as the primary antagonist, stealing the music keys to hypnotize the masses with his gyrating thighs. And then getting beaten at the end of the first world, never to be seen again. Mario Party 8 would give Waluigi a rose, playing off of a more gentleman thief kind of air that's way too good for him. And Mario Strike...
Yo! Look at that pose! This reminds me of designing for his video on King DDD, of like a pose that tells you everything about the character. This is pretty close.
Way too good for him. And Mario Strikers Charged would evolve that concept into giving Waluigi command of thorns, forming walls and lashing out at goalies with a spiked whip. The Striker games would also give us Waluigi telling everyone who had a problem with him in-universe and out where they can stick it. But then this taunt got so popular that Waluigi will tease it in the sequel, going, you're not ready for the Waluigi pop-off yet. More air.
What a guy. This is awesome. He's such a shithead, but he's our shithead.
Floating, more cheating, more cameos, giant robot pinball Waluigi.
Yes,
all of these
exactly
different hands, all of these different teams coming together to expand upon what defined Waluigi, what makes him tick, why he mattered. And while grumbling online would continue, a whole generation was growing up with Waluigi. To them, he was a funny failure who could always be counted on for a good laugh. But for those who were still complaining about Waluigi's obnoxious omnipresence, something was about to come to change the way that Waluigi was viewed online forever.
What is that? Okay, I barely know memes, so I probably was able to avoid all of this. But I'm assuming in a similar case to Persona 4 when it got released, these memes skyrocketed the character to its current popularity. Because after all, memes are the DNA of the soul. Oh my goodness.
Brawl in the Family was a Nintendo-themed webcomic that ran from May 2008 to October 2014. As we're more than a decade removed from the heyday of webcomics, social media having eaten up most people's desire to head to dedicated sites for content, let me say that webcomics were big.
Ironically, we're watching this on YouTube and uploading this video on YouTube. These are dark days we live in.
Up through the early 2010s. You couldn't wade your way through a message board without someone saying that they like swords or cast the spells that makes the peoples fall down. Lost became a meme entirely because of how poorly received the original Control-Alt-Delete comic was.
Explaining to your grandma how these two images are related? Explain to me how they're related! I don't know anything about this! Or is it supposed to be like a perfect picture that depicts the meme format? I don't know, explain it to me, please. But Zero, how could you not know any of this? I'm sorry. I kind of devoted a really large chunk of my life to playing sports, so I didn't mess around with any of this nerdy shit. Watching anime and playing video games was a thing that only losers did. And now look at me. How far the mighty have fallen.
And both the Child's Play charity and PAX were founded through the monumental success of Penny Arcade. It's even in the name and everything. These were parts of gaming culture that transcended and bridged individual communities. They're a real big deal to a degree that I can't possibly convey.
I don't know shit about any of this. Where have I been? What? I feel like I'm missing out on real life lore now at this point.
So you know what? I asked a professional.
Hello and wah! This is Matthew Taranto, creator of Brawl in the Family, and I have a sin to confess. That being that I'm the creator of Brawl in the Family, and I think I am at least partially responsible for the Waluigi mania that has gone on over the past several years. I was actually a pretty active member of the Nintendo general message board community. I'd posted online on the IGN boards, and back in 2000, I remember Camelot had put up the Mario Tennis website and had introduced Waluigi as a new character for the Mario universe. You know, everyone was kind of like, well, you know, some people thought, okay, that's kind of cool, new character. It's, you know, he looks kind of like this Snidely Whiplash type or Dick Dastardly from the old cartoons. And other people were thinking, this is kind of too much. You know, we already have Mario, we already have Luigi, Wario. Why do we need a Waluigi? Luigi at the time was this underdog character. So why was there a character that was described as jealous of Luigi's fame? It just, it didn't make sense to a lot of people. Waluigi was kind of more like, okay, I guess, you know, he's there. No one was really clamoring to have him in Smash Brothers or anything.
On April 1st, 2009, for the site's 151st strip, creator Matthew Taranto allowed his comic to be taken over by Waluigi.
Oh, yeah!
Every hour, a new quick gag would be posted by Waluigi himself in an overly gangly, excessively toothy, and undoubtedly amusing form. And they were odd.
I made a really strange looking Waluigi drawing one day. You know, my friend Chris, who helped me run the site, he was flipping through it and he thought it was really funny looking. So I thought, oh, that'd be fun to do an April Fool's thing with this really ugly looking Waluigi. People would get onto the site, they'd just see a drawing of that Waluigi and it said, expecting a comic? Too bad, Waluigi time. It kind of set the personality of the character in our minds. He just doesn't care. When April Fool's Day came around, I just started making up a bunch of comics on the spot, just kind of improvising them. Half of them didn't really have punchlines. You know, it was just Waluigi invading the comic, kind of making a mess of things with his weird personality. He wasn't even a joke character at this point. You know, he wasn't the obvious joke character. He was just kind of weird, kind of unpopular. And it just seemed like a fun way to use a character that hadn't been used that much yet.
In a strange way, the fact that he's weird and unpopular makes him perfect for this role, which then made him popular. It's actually really cool looking back on all this history of a character and seeing the path that they've taken. Because at the time, nobody knew what it would become, of course. But there's just so many different signs that say, yes, this is exactly what would happen. It was inevitable. It just needed time. And while I didn't expect it to come in this sort of format, this is basically what I was saying about the community also raising up this character. If he didn't have his own game, then it goes to reason that there had to be something that the community did for him in order to become, in order for him to reach this sort of status. It's just that I wasn't aware of any of this at all, so I didn't even have a good guess at this.
Waluigi in the Family was a widespread success, the character becoming a recurring staple of the comic. More April Fool's Days would pass, Waluigi always finding a way to appear, more individual comics starring the oddball, full song parodies from Waluigi himself, and even extending after the comic's end.
What the fuck is Bohemian Rhapsody? No. Do I want to listen to any of these? Oh god, Simba. I don't usually visit this side of YouTube, but the one time that I did, I think I heard a cover of Simple and Clean, sang by Donald Duck or something like that. I wonder if these type of covers are still popular, or if it was more of just an era sort of thing, that this is what people were super into at the time.
With this design, with this voice, with this catchphrase,
Too bad, Waluigi time.
Waluigi had something to rally behind, something that fans of him could easily share around, something that he could gain new fans from, because clearly this was making fun of him and not actually appreciating him. This was the impetus for Waluigi to emerge as the dominant meme, where him being annoying to all those who still had it out for him was the point.
Oh no! How dare Waluigi send a cease and desist to the creator? That's not cool, man. But not gonna lie, I kind of had that thought in the back of my head that because this was a community creation, I wasn't too sure whether Nintendo would be happy with that, especially with the recent crackdowns that Nintendo has been doing. Oh, I say recent. They kind of have always been doing it.
Annoying to all those who still had it out for him was the point. You want to talk about anything but Waluigi?
Too bad, Waluigi time.
It's always pretty surreal seeing, like, too bad, Waluigi time, and the long wah, like, stuff. Yeah, I'm probably partly to blame for that. In fact, Nintendo actually did a Valentine's thing recently where they posted on Twitter these various Nintendo-themed Valentines, and Waluigi's was just something, it was something like roses are red, violets are blue, wah, and then it just kind of had the wah just go off the side. And I thought, okay, that's pretty on point with where this character has gone.
Comic number 0000035 of the Waluigi series was titled Happy Birthday, Waluigi.
Aww.
In this comic, we're presented with an empty house. Deep purple lines, heavily shaded, depicting a birthday party with no guests. A clock on the wall ticking away hours into the night. Waluigi is at home, sitting alone, wrapped in darkness, his dour mood obscuring his eyes or any expression except pure disappointment. Before an answering machine calls out, bringing color back to his world. It's from Daisy, the one friend he has that tolerates him. Apologize.
Daisy is Waluigi's friend and can tolerate him? What is this lore?
That she can't make it to his birthday, but she hopes that everyone is having a good time at the party.
No!
And as the phone hangs up, the color drains out of Waluigi's world again, and he continues to sit, crying at his pitiful state, incapable of sincerely being around any one person. This comic, above all others, plays with how Waluigi has grown. We might laugh at Waluigi's antics, dismiss him out of hand as a weird waste of space, but whether we laugh with, at, or in spite of him, we are laughing. At some point, even if something is a meme, it becomes a part of everyone repeating it, and that appreciation becomes sincere. To this day, Toronto is still releasing parody covers of Waluigi songs, some of them reaching into the millions of views. Many viewers nostalgic for the days of Brawl in the Family, where Waluigi was this fun meme to shove everywhere. The kids who grew up with this massive failure started to appreciate Martinet's performance, Camelot's portrayal, Namco and Square and Sega and Hudson and Next Level Games continuing to expand upon his character. There was even outcry and disappointment that Waluigi wasn't included in Mario Kart 7. To date, the only major spin-off outing the guys missed since... Mario Kart Arcade GP in 2005? With time, most of the hatred for Waluigi shifted into appreciation. At first mimetic, but steadily changing into a genuine admiration for the character. People love sad sacks who nothing goes right for, and fan projects, fan videos, fan support celebrating what the eternal nobody stood for came out in droves.
It's kind of similar to back in like the GameCube era. Luigi had a lot of fans. He was kind of the underdog, and he wasn't in Mario 64, and he wasn't in these other games. He was sort of like, the dark horse character that people are like, oh, we want more Luigi. And now, Luigi, had his whole year of Luigi. He's been showing up in most of the Mario games as a playable character. And now Waluigi is kind of underdog? Like, he's got that original Luigi underdog status, but with this grimy layer of weirdness on top. I think Waluigi's got plenty of personality and a lot of untapped potential for being in games.
Yeah, I could agree with that. You can almost view it as like a cycle. Like many things in life, these things come and go. Looking back on the history of Waluigi now, we can see all these different elements that are most certainly leading up to his current popularity. Eventually, the stars are going to align for that next underdog to step up and shine in the public's eyes. And as he said, that's kind of what happened to Luigi, but now because Luigi has already achieved that status, who's the next person? Obviously, it's Waluigi. And perhaps at some point in the future, a different character will end up rising above all others. Meme culture develops pretty quickly, so I had no doubt about it.
For years, Waluigi has been an incredibly requested character to join the fight in Super Smash Bros. And though Masahiro Sakurai was reported to say that Waluigi was withheld because the love for the character was, quote, insincere,
damn,
that ain't true. Not just because Sakurai never actually said that and people on the internet make things up and take jokes way too seriously.
What the?
But because there is a sincerity to Waluigi's fan base. It's just one that happens to be best shown through memes, exaggeration, and overacting. All things that Waluigi himself would approve of.
To be fair, the whole appeal of the character is that, so yeah, it makes sense for people to appreciate the character in the same way that their character is.
We're approaching 25 years since Waluigi debuted. To date, he hasn't appeared in a single mainline Super Mario game or RPG. Costume cameos in Mario Odyssey and Paper Mario TTYD, and an appearance by Waluigi in Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle being the closest the guy's ever got. In that sense, Waluigi could be considered just as useless as his detractors said, an eternal bench warmer destined for failure. But a genuine fan base has emerged for this loser from legions of people who didn't see him with hateful eyes on his debut, with developers who gave him a chance in spite of his reception and gave him little bits of character to let him shine. From fans who grew up with him, fans who turned him into memes, and then fans of those memes where ironic appreciation turned into actual care and affection.
Yo.
And while that might be obvious, I think that's really important.
Whereas you have to have the
I always liked Waluigi. My go-to on the rare occasions where I wanted to dabble with someone who wasn't Donkey Kong.
Good choice.
But the moment I got online to talk about him, that character felt universally hated. The internet was a lot smaller, opinions were a lot more cleanly drawn in the sand, and it was just kind of a fact that Waluigi was a bad character. Yet the more I dug to find examples of that for this video, I realized how hard it was to actually source examples of people hating him.
Waluigi #1!
What was once a fact had eroded rapidly into a few scant preserved articles, while this new generation shouting, "Too bad! Waluigi time!" and wanting him in Smash and saying how good he looks in his little golf suit and being hyped whenever he pulls out a rose was in much fuller force. And that isn't something that just extends to the funny purple disappointment. There are a lot of things that have gone around as universally hated, from the GameCube to Pokemon, dubs of anime to almost any 3D Sonic game, John
there you
Cena
go.
to Cyberpunk 2077. I'm sure there are a lot more examples from stuff I don't directly look at, but eventually, everything will come around to being appreciated and celebrated by those who experienced it with a less cynical outlook.
Okay. Oh god. This is so true, actually. Public perception of any particular piece of media can change over time. There are obviously many factors to this, but it's an undeniable fact that it happens. Like, I don't know if any of you guys are Star Wars fans, but I do recall hearing or seeing some articles when the sequel trilogy released. Some people were like, you know what? The prequels weren't that bad. The prequels to Star Wars that were universally hated ended up not looking that bad when the sequels dropped. I wonder why. And it's not like anything about those movies changed. If you go back and watch them, they're still really bad. But now there's a certain cultural phenomenon that has ended up changing people's perception. So while I myself certainly have very strong opinions about particular anime, and probably some video games that people enjoy, which I don't, I still want to appreciate it for what it was able to achieve, and the ideas that the developers or animators had for such a series. Because I know for a fact that I don't know everything, and there may be some aspect about it that is secretly genius. There may be something that I simply didn't see, which other people were able to and appreciate a lot. Or perhaps it was truly a failure, but from that failure, they were able to create something so much better that everybody loved. Without it, though, it wouldn't be possible. And if you're someone like me who loves to explore the lore behind many different series, I highly recommend taking this approach to anything new that you discover. Like, sure, maybe that plot point was cliche, but cliches are cliches for a reason, because they work. And maybe it's a really great setup for something else in the future. Or perhaps it simply appealed to a lot of people who are looking for that sort of thing. A lot of different examples I can bring up here. And I can say without a doubt that it just makes appreciating all these different things so much better, so much easier, when you don't have to have these sort of comparisons or nitpicking all the little things about something that doesn't really work out, or how your series is so much better than a different series. All these things are just cool in their own way, and if you appreciate it, then appreciate the heck out of it. If somebody else disagrees with you, then agree to disagree, because at some point in time, maybe their opinion will change, and they might be able to see what you see now.
And as long as the work doesn't hurt anybody, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Waluigi feels like the poster child of this to me. A character built on less than nothing, hated for being nothing, the butt of a joke that no one wanted to tell on arrival, turning into a character built up by those who wanted to care about him until he became so omnipresent that the idea of removing him became laughable. Waluigi's popularity is a culmination of effort, in spite of adversity, of different teams and fans adding what made the character, well, a character over the years. And proof that even the most worthless, pathetic, easily dismissed creations can become things worth truly treasuring. In time, fans of these creative works, of underdogs, of Waluigi, will come together to show the world how to design for appreciation.
Perfect ending.
I'm a living legend.
Thank you again so much to Matthew Toronto for his help and insight. What you working on?
So if you'd like to see more of my stuff, I did a book about Nintendo history with Howard Phillips. It's called Game Master Classified. I did a music adventure game on the Switch called Tadpole Trouble Encore, and I'm currently doing music and original songs about Nintendo games. It's called Bit Musical, and you can find it on Patreon or on YouTube. Every now and then I still sing a cover of a beloved song in the Waluigi voice.
Waluigi time.
I'm assuming... Wait, is that the end of Ava? Oh god, no! But yes, go and support Designing For, so that we can continue to overly obsess over minor details of video game characters. You wouldn't really expect it, looking from the outside, but Waluigi's history is filled with so much heart. It seems almost impossible to be the case, considering the character's look, as well as their personality. But after learning about it, it just makes way too much sense for it all to end up like this. Now I'm just curious to see what other character there currently is that people really, really hate, that just so happens to have all these little ingredients that made Waluigi successful in the future. Maybe we can make a pretty cool prediction here, I don't know. Although, culture develops rapidly and is very hard to predict, so probably not. I just find the idea intriguing is all.
Third impact is stupid. My robot is my mom, and my girlfriend turns everyone into orange juice.
What?
Loser.
Honestly, I have no idea what that was about. I'm assuming that's an Ava reference, but I've never actually seen Ava. But yeah, a good way to end the video, I guess.